I have a very small camera. As a small camera user, there are tools and accessories that I have on my camera to sort of amplify its image, to get the shots that I really want. Now, there are a lot of filmmakers out there who shoot on big cameras, and I felt like I've always been advertised or interested in shooting with some of the nicest gear, but if you can see with the footage that you're watching right now, the coverage looks incredible, and my camera has been able to blend its way into shoots with FX6s, FX9s, and will be soon blending its way into a short film with an Alexa. And today I want to talk about the top tools and accessories I use on my Sony a7S III, the best way to sort of amplify a sort of small tool like this one that I'm currently shooting on, and all the little things that I use. I'm also gonna be wandering around our amazing little cottage here. I freaking love it here. This is by far my favorite place in the whole wide world to be. First off, I had this whole idea to shoot this video where you could see the camera and all of the setups. Most filmmakers have two cameras they can shoot stuff on. My main camera is also the camera that I'm shooting this on, so ironically, I can't do behind the scenes footage, although there's some cool stuff that Mark Bone helped me shoot when we were on our trip shooting tornadoes, so here's the coverage. First one, camera. I use the Sony a7S Mark III. This is by far the best camera I've used in a very long time. Yes, it's not a big, bulky, crazy camera, but it's small and it's usable for what I like doing. I love having a camera that I can latch around my neck, go on for a hike, as well as take on a professional shoot. Now, while it doesn't have the bells and whistles to what a bigger camera might have, it gets the image that I want, and when it's built out with all the accessories that I'll be talking about in this video, you're gonna get pro images that are comparable to some really incredible cameras. This boat is a huge feature in one of our short films that we shot, The Fisherman. I used it primarily as like almost a secondary character, and that documentary was actually shot on the two lenses I want to talk about. The first one is the Sigma Art Series lens, 50mm 1.4, which has a beautiful shallow depth of field. I highly recommend if you are building out your arsenal, you get one lens that gives you a shallow depth of field. That's that beautiful blurry background that gets you an f-stop of over f2.8. You want to get to like an f1.4 or 1.8 to really get that nice creamy background. The other lens that I would recommend over almost any other one, and it is the one I use probably about 70% of the time, is a 24-70. Most camera brands have this on their slew of lenses. I use the Sigma Art because it's a little bit more affordable and gives me the image that I like. I also film pretty much every single documentary I do on it. It is my one and gun lens that I use for most setups, and I pair that with the next piece of gear that completes this kit, which is a gimbal. I don't know if you know this, but I've been secretly wearing my Batman shirt underneath all of it. I've always wanted to do that, just like... And the reason why I put a gimbal on my Sony a7S III is actually to have more handles on my camera. When you're shooting with small cameras, let's say you're an SLR user, whether it's Canon, Sony, Panasonic, or I don't know where Fuji's at in the race. But when you use a gimbal paired with that, it actually gives you more handles. So I actually have a tool to hold my camera onto as opposed to just holding the system. I'm not a big camera cage person, so having it connected to a gimbal gives me a base handle, gives me stability, some buttons to press. It just makes me feel a little bit more official when I'm shooting. Now, what I put on the gimbal, which sometimes gives me a pain in the ass, but always creates a good image, is the next piece of gear I'm about to talk about, which you absolutely need. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm building a tripod out of my jacket right now because I want to get a shot of the house behind me and the camera on the ground, but let's see if we can make this work. All right, next one is audio. The microphone that I always have mounted on the top of my camera is the one I've had for the last year, which is the Sennheiser MKE 600. I absolutely love this. I'm about like 2 feet away from the microphone right now, and as you can tell, the audio sounds super clear. There's wind, bugs, birds chirping, everything, and amongst the elements, the audio comes across super clear. I think this is one of the best mics for your dollar, and that paired with my camera setup gives you a really good kind of all-around documentary mic camera gimbal setup. You get beautifully smooth shots with depth of field, versatility, and I get all the shots that I really love. And because I'm shooting on the DJI Ronin S2, I can actually use the quick release plate, take my camera off right away, and boom, it's in handheld mode with all of the features currently, attached to my camera. And then super easily, I can clip it back on and then get gimbal shots. This was the one setup we used consistently when we were out chasing tornadoes. And by far, I could not have thought of a better unit to have. My tripod for this shot is a candle. Now, this is arguably one of the biggest tools that people migrate from having small cameras to big cameras for, and that is an ND filter. Most big camera shooters love having their big cameras because they have internal NDs on the inside of them. Now, if you're like me and you need to shoot on a smaller camera, you have to get variable NDs. And the one that I use, Peter McKinnon Polar Pro ND mist filter thing, the title's right there. But this gives a nice, really beautiful, soft image that I really like. I mean, that's what you've been seeing on this video. This ND filter, while it being a mist filter, gives my images a nice creamy look that I think looks really nice. It's typically, a lot of my stuff that I'm filming is around golden hour / nighttime. So actually having this ND works really well. It's also, if there's one to buy, because I know they can be pretty expensive, I actually think the 2 to 5 is a good mid-range, especially if a lot of your lenses are a 2.8. Now, if you're getting higher into, let's say, the 1.4s, it might make more sense to invest in a higher ND filter or one that's all around. I use this Tiffin one that goes all the way up to an 8. It's got some vignetting. The image doesn't look as cute and pretty, but if you're looking for a versatile piece of ND, that's the one to go. So all in all, with the microphone, the camera, the lens, the whole thing set up, this is my dream setup. I use it, like I said, so many different things. And also I filmed a whole short film on that setup specifically last year, doing a documentary on my good friend Nick here at our cottage. I decided to shoot for like a whole year just following my buddy around doing this like little micro doc. If you guys want to take a look at it, it's a good example of what this setup does. And there's also another documentary I will navigate you towards, which is the short documentary that I shot as a solo shooter completely by myself up in Northern Ontario, where I followed this Indigenous group and created a movie about their organization, Kenora Chiefs Advisory. Give that a watch if you want your heart to feel all the feels. And yeah, let me know if you have a solo shooting setup that you absolutely love, and maybe I missed a few key points that might not be part of your arsenal. Again, the gimbal is sort of a stylistic choice, but I think if you're filming on a small camera, you need some sort of tool. So my buddy Mark Bone is an advocate of the top handle, so if you don't feel like gimbals are your style, totally get it. I'm trying to grab onto something here and I'm awkwardly being like, yeah, I have my hand on this thing here that I'm just, this is really weird. I'm just gonna put my hand here on this thing. Yeah, let me know what your setup of choice is, what you guys like the most, if there's anything you feel like I missed out on or would like me to dive in more on some of the cool gear that I use, let me know in the comment section below. Would absolutely love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And as always, stay frickin' fresh, do your thing. Also, we are so close to hitting a big milestone on the channel, so if you want to give it some support, you can hit some buttons. It would make my day. Go out and enjoy the summer sun. If you are out in it, go do it. Suck it up, breathe it in, suck it up. Suck it up, suck up your summer.